Right, I think it's time to get started. We're up to 44 attendees, so thank you so much to everyone who's joined today. With 44 of you on the phone, this will be a one-way broadcast, and we aim to get you out of here in 30 minutes. My name is Matt Plass. I'm the Chief Learning Officer with Interactive Services, and I'm joined today by Mark Dorosz, who's our VP of Compliance Learning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be speaking with all of you. Or I should say good afternoon to those in Europe.
Good afternoon for some of us. Good morning to some others. So thank you for joining our first Look launch event. We are unveiling the Compliance Learning Center from Interactive Services today. Some of you may already be familiar with what we're doing. For others of you, it will be completely new. There are really three sections to today. We're going to share our vision for compliance training. We're going to give you a sneak peek into the modules and topics we're preparing, and then show you a demonstration of some of the content that we've prepared. And we're going to finish up by talking about what happens next, so that for anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more, you're 100% clear on how to move this forward. So we'll start by talking about the journey we've been on. For anyone who knows who we are, we're a training, design and development company, and we've been around for about 20 years, working primarily with Fortune 500 companies in the US, but also in Europe as well. We're headquartered in Dublin. We have, at any given time, 50 to 100 global clients, and I think you can see some of the names on the slide here under the global clients. Gives you an indication of some of the organizations that we work with. And with those guys, we do anything up to 200 compliance projects every sort of 4 to 5 years. So compliance has always been a huge part of our business. At times it's been 50%, other times it's been up to 70% of our business. You can see that from the topics we've listed here, we create anti-money laundering, anti-corruption courses, anti-harassment, the list goes on, across all different verticals: financial services, retail, pharma, manufacturing, technology, telecoms. So with all of this experience, working with the Fortune 500, working in compliance, creating online content, it occurred to us that the time had come to try and distill some of that experience into a single productized learning center. And that's really what we're here to talk to you about today. Some of the courses that we've been creating on an individual basis for our clients for the last 20 years, we've now turned into what we would call a sort of part-baked product, a customizable product that is housed within a single learning center for an organization's compliance training needs. We're launching officially April 1st, so this is a bit of a sneak peek. It is our flagship compliance product, and the idea is that while it will come with 100% complete content, it will be designed and built to be very easily customized by your organization, so you can make it real for you. We know from the work that we've done with other organizations, while 80% of the content might be generic around compliance, the 20% that's specific is the really hard-working, important part of the course. So we knew with our compliance product, we had to do something to allow our clients to update it and also to make it real for them and for their employees. So I'm going to move on to our vision and ask Mark to just walk through what the vision is that we have for this product.
Absolutely, and this vision really came from speaking with individuals like yourselves. When we started this journey and made the decision as a company to invest in a product, we started by interviewing 70 chief compliance officers and senior learning executives at Fortune 500s that we currently work with that own compliance training programs. And the message that we heard was off-the-shelf products are great, but where we get the real impact is from the content that is specific to our business in terms of the scenarios, the policies, the procedures we follow at our own firms to raise red flags. So when we created the corporate compliance, the Compliance Learning Center, our goal was to create something that had the convenience of a product, the impact of a learning solution that had been created specifically for your organization, and also acted as a platform for your own leaders to share their insights in terms of where the business is heading. So I think when we look at the Compliance Learning Center today with you and demo it, I would very much see what we're showing today as a starting point, the building blocks for creating something specific to your organization. And then, Neil, if you just move on to the next slide for us. So based upon that research, I mean, that there are 6 areas that we've chosen to build our solution around. I think that the first and perhaps the most innovative approach that we've taken is we've built a library of over 60 4 to 8 minute compliance learning topics. Each of those 4 to 8 minute learning topics is a standalone lesson. And the great thing about that is that you can mix and match those to create your own course. You can push them out for remedial training, or you could drip feed those to your organization on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis to raise awareness of corporate compliance. Some of the other features is we've really focused heavily on making customization a pain-free experience. We heard some horror stories of it taking 3 months to customize a product when we interviewed our clients, and we wanted to move away from that. In terms of pricing, we've kept it very simple. We're charging a single all-inclusive annual fee with no variance based upon the number of users, so it's easier to plan. We have some great technology around a compliance learning portal, a diagnostic assessment, and a profiler that allows you to match your compliance learning to the specific needs of individual employees, and we'll take a look at that shortly. Everything we create is designed to sit on your own learner management system, but we also provide managed hosting for smaller firms that need that support. And then finally, the other differentiator is when we went out and spoke with those compliance officers, we were advised to speak with real practitioners for getting our content right. So rather than working with a white-collar law firm or one of the big auditors, what we chose to do was assemble a series of expert panels from our existing clients where practitioners at firms that lead in this area sat down with us and looked at what makes a model curriculum for things like information security, anti-money laundering, or anti-bribery. And when you pull that all together, you'll see on the next slide here, these are the topics that we're going live with. And I think the important thing to state here is that these are a starting point for you to create a program that is specific to your organization. They're going to be available in 10 languages out the gate that cover 80% of the working population throughout the globe. And you could either roll these out as courses, or we could mix and match them to create a code of conduct program, for example, that combines elements of all of them. Matt, I'll hand it over to you from here.
Yeah, so I think what I like about this is the idea that we can mix and match. So we have our 3 verticals. We have a regulatory compliance piece on the left with the insider trading, AML, and anti-bribery and corruption. Then a sort of professional practice, anti-harassment, discrimination, workplace conduct in the center, and then the data modules on the right. But each of these topics under the headings is, as Mark says, designed to be standalone, ranging from 5 to 8 to 10 minutes long, which means you really can mix and match for your organization. And you can choose which ones perhaps work out of the box and which ones need a bit of customization, and which ones perhaps need quite heavy customization to make them right. So we think this is going to give people a huge amount of flexibility. You'll see that we have, next in the hopper, we're looking at an antitrust module, and we're also looking at building out the California piece for anti-harassment to make sure we're covered there. But we think this is going to give people a very flexible way to put together a program that's just right for their business. I think the next thing I wanted to talk about is we're getting closer to showing the demo on this webinar. And as we move through the next few slides and then show the demo, here's a few things I think it's useful to watch out for. We've employed an action-based learning model, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but really it means that the focus is not on people knowing stuff, it's on people doing stuff. So whenever we employ a scenario, or we assess, or we introduce a new topic, the focus is very much, what does that mean to you as an everyday employee going through your daily routine and trying to remain compliant to the best of your ability? So where possible, we focused on, you could say we focused on the small stuff that makes such a difference. And when you do that, of course, what you're really doing is you're looking at culture, because culture is all of the tiny pieces of activity and behavior that add up to make the way we do things here. You're going to see that we have a fresh visual style for each of the different module areas. We'll be refreshing the content every couple of years anyway, but even at launch, we wanted to make sure that each module had its own very distinct visual style. And we want a personalized experience for every learner as well. Mark's already mentioned the easy customization and the easy rollout, but hopefully when you start to see this stuff in action, you'll start to think, yes, I can see how easy it would be to record my customization needs and to get this out there to my people. So we'll have a very quick look at the action-based learning model. It's very simple, actually. You only really do 3 things, 4 if you include the attestation at the bottom. When you're in one of our topics, you're either learn it, where we're presenting a new concept and you're learning, or you're in own it, where you're going to be practicing with scenarios to try and make it real for you, or you're in Prove It, where you get to prove that you've understood the content so far. And that's where we test you for understanding. And that's the piece, Prove It, that's tracked and scored. Because we've split it out in this way, we're also able to use those Prove It assessments as a pre-test. So it might be something that the organization isn't ready for, but if your organization is ready for a pre-test, we can save countless hours by allowing people to test out of the areas that they're already proficient in. And then at the end of each module, we'll ask the learner to attest. So we'll say, we think you're ready, your assessment score shows you're ready, but do you feel ready? And we'll ask them to check boxes saying, yes, I know where my policy is. I know which trading windows apply to me. I feel ready to enact this policy and to remain compliant for the company. So it's a simple learning model, and we've actually pulled these icons onto the screens themselves so the learner always knows exactly where they are. So as we go through the next few slides, you'll get a very quick sense of the different visual styles we're employing. Here, for example, in the Code of Conduct, we've gone for a very human style. We're having lots of photographs of what I would hope would be real-looking people, moving away from some of the shutter-stop models we see so often. The info security, different style again. This one's a little different. On the next slide, we're looking at data privacy. I've seen many data privacy courses that took a very straight and conservative visual style, so we want to do something a little bit more interesting with these cutouts here. When we go on to anti-corruption, we get a little bit more serious, and we're using a sort of sketched, illustrated effect to illustrate some of the areas in which corruption is likely to take place, and then using close-up photographs to sort of push home that human element that exists in that field as well. Insider trading, we've gone for more of a cartoon style, and this is the piece that we'll be showing you in a moment. And then finally, the AML is a style you may be familiar with. It's a sketchbook where we see the hand draw the sketch onto the screen. Now, these are not the only tools in the toolkit, but I think what they do represent is 6 or 7 very, very different styles. And finishing up here with anti-harassment, which is more of a sort of photograph taken in the moment style. And we believe that by doing this and with the mix and match ability of the topics, we can keep the learner's interest through what could end up being quite a lot of compliance training over a year.
Matt, can I walk us through the demo?
Yeah, I think we're going to launch the insider trading demo, and Mark's going to take us through it.
Sure, absolutely. So what we're looking at now is the first of the tools that we can switch on or switch off. And what we have here is a role profiler that would sit above your learning management system. So you have a series of 3 questions. You just hold there for a second, Neil. And the idea of these questions is that we can configure them specifically to your organization. So what you're looking at here is stock questions, but we would work out how to profile your own organization, or we could even pull this information automatically from a platform such as Workday or Oracle. Matt, let me just walk it through with yourself. Is this your first year with Interactive Services?
It is not.
Okay. Do you work directly with our end customers?
I do.
Fantastic. And are you a people manager?
I am.
That's a mixed blessing. Fantastic. Okay, and if you just move on there, and you'll see here Matt's personal learning journey for the next 12 months. So the topics that I'm going to show will vary depending upon how we've configured the tool and how Matt has answered. And in essence, it allows the learner to see at a glance what their learning journey looks like for the next 12 months. Let's take a look at insider trading, Neil. Okay, so you'll see here insider trading, and the first piece we have here, and Matt alluded to it earlier on, is we can either switch on or switch off this diagnostic assessment. And the idea is that we're not testing people out, but focusing on the content that's going to give them the biggest return. So let's run the test down. So for insider trading, we'd run a sequence of 10 questions. Neil, let's just answer one of these. And then based upon how we perform in this assessment, we've gone through our sequence of 10 questions. We see which topics we need to focus on. So here is all the content associated with it. But based upon how I did in the pre-assessment, we can just see these are the 6 that I need to focus on. And to be clear, again, this is a tool that we could roll out today. It's a tool that we could roll out for certain audiences, or it might be something that you switch on at a future date. Let's have a look at topic 1, define insider trading. Okay, so we'll start with one of our 60 to 90 second animations. And actually, we've lost the audio on that, Neil. I think you're on mute. Your PC itself might be muted. But not to worry, we'll provide access to these afterwards. But essentially, we have a 60 to 90 seconds.
Valuable or material information you learn as an insider cannot be used to improve your own financial situation. And you can't share the information with others. If you do, that's insider trading. This rule is so important that there are global laws to prevent insider trading. You need to...
Excellent. Fantastic. So it's been a little bit squished here by our WebEx software, but we have these sequences of animations. You saw the different styles. They're never any longer than 90 seconds, but this is where we teach a concept. It's something that's going to work well on a global, for a global rollout. Once we go in, here is to some extent our secret sauce. So you'll see here we have screens that we've built specifically for you to insert your own policies, your own links. So what we're looking at here is a stock screen, and then if we toggle it, you'll see that we've populated it with information specific to your firm. So there's an image there of a shopping mall. There's information there on the left in terms of how insider trading is managed at your organization. And then we also have a placeholder for a senior leader, such as your Chief Compliance Officer, to deliver a message around why insider trading is important. And we have about 20 of these screens, so we can mix and match the custom screens depending upon what you need to teach your learners. But this is a real nice opportunity for you to customize the learning experience, and it's something that we've designed as standard rather than a heavy lift at the end of this solution. Okay, let's take a look at the scenarios themselves. Again, you'd be able to customize these scenarios, but a lot of firms would be able to use them as they are. This one for insider trading is set in a high-end restaurant. There's actually some nice sound effects that you'll be able to hear if you access the demo afterwards. And with this scenarios, we're really focusing on the gray area. So in an example of insider trading, not only do you not execute a trade, you also don't tell your client or your broker the reason for why you're not executing that trade. So we're following a story, we're focusing on the gray areas, some of the nuances. This is still part of the primary learning experience where we're teaching rather than assessing if people are competent. So it's okay for people to learn through making mistakes. And then here at the end, we finish with that call to action in terms of taking action and making sure you reach out to your compliance department. So each topic has a scenario, a different setting depending upon what we're teaching. Once we've gone through that, here's our assessment, and you'll see the assessment, it's binary, so you have that nice clear record for your regulators. It's still a pretty complex question in terms of the number of combinations people could submit, but you either get it right or you get it wrong, so there's a nice clear legal record. And then finally, just as a quick note, what happens depending upon whether you get the question right or wrong, you can always configure on your side as well in terms of how many attempts learners have, what happens if they're unsuccessful. Finally, let's just take a quick peek for 60 seconds at the tools, and I'll hand back over to yourself, Matt. Each of our topic areas has an associated infographic. As we zoom out, you'll see that this has been something that has been optimized for viewing on a cell phone. So it's something that's really nice to be able to scroll down. You can keep it on your phone, on your tablet. It's something that managers could share. Can you just scroll through the whole document there, Neil? And then we have a decision tree around, in this example, for insider trading in terms of when to take action. Okay, and then finally just moving on to the attestation tool that Matt mentioned before. And with this, we've got a sequence of questions that we would come up with your general counsel or chief compliance officer. And this is where we collect those statements. I'm aware of the policies. I'm committing to take action. I understand what my responsibilities are. So in essence, it's a very simple solution, but it works effectively. And it's a great building block for covering what is essentially your annual compliance requirements. The other piece I would say is it's been built using our Chameleon framework. And that means it'll play beautifully on Android tablets, Apple devices, but it also will play back flawlessly with support all the way back to Internet Explorer 8, which is a very old legacy browser. So we're supporting quite basic desktop PC setups through to the latest technology. Matt, I'll hand over to you from here.
Thank you, Mark. So I think we asked you to look out for a few things as we went through the demo. Hopefully you saw some of that action-based learning in practice, which is where we go into the scenarios and start focusing on the small everyday actions. You'll have seen that we showed you one example of the visual style, and there are 6 others that we put across the course. And it's to some extent a personalized experience for the learner, because if we're using the profiler, and the profiler is optional, but if we are using the profiler, as a learner, I should only see the topics that are relevant to me in my role. One of the biggest complaints we have from our existing clients' learner population around compliance training is that they have to sit through content that they either already know or isn't relevant to them. So the CLC is very much designed to remediate that, and of course the saving in seat time is absolutely huge. So we're nearly up on time. I wanted to leave a couple of minutes just to talk about what happens next. We will be running a series of what we're calling executive briefings for anyone who's interested throughout March and April. So this is your opportunity to discuss the CLC with us, very much with your own organization in mind. We're going to reach out to everyone who's joined this webinar, and thank you again for joining. All you need to do if you are interested is respond to that email and try to let us know whether you think you'll have 20 or 40 minutes. 40 minutes is probably a better length of time for us to go into detail, but we can use 20 minutes and we can make it a very valuable and hard-working 20 minutes if we need to.
Just to jump in, Matt, that 20 minutes would be great if perhaps you have a quarterly meeting where you bring together your compliance team or your learning organization, and you want us just to speak as part of a departmental meeting. We can come in and we can demo the product. 40 minutes, I think, would be if we're running a session specifically focused on the Compliance Learning Center and a 2015 rollout.
Right. Now, the other thing that would be very useful to help tailor that call would be a sense of the compliance topics which are particularly important to you. We'll be able to work with that. And then obviously at last, the date and the time for your team, and we will do everything we can to work around the dates and times that work for you. So you don't need to do anything now. We'll send the email out. I hope that was informative and exciting for you. We're very excited about this product. We're looking forward to April when we get to finally release it. And hopefully we'll be able to talk with you more about this soon. But thank you so much for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.